Hi, Vestin here, and welcome back to Cartoon Theory. So, why does Pokemon use computer-generated special effects in its show, especially in the movies? I'm talking about things in the show and the movies where they do things like make the unknown, the spell the unknown, BCG, or they make the forest in Pokemon Forever BCG, stuff like that. And that forest example was later used when Ash began traveling in the Unova region. I kind of wanted to explain what I think are the two reasons that they decide to use these CG shots, because this is not just because about the high budget stuff like that the movies use. So first of all, the reason to use CG is simply for stylistic reasons. Things like the opening logos during the first 5 seasons of Pokemon, from the Indigo League to Master Quest. Things like Mewtwo Strikes Back, where the storm clouds are all CG. These are all done just for style reasons. I mean, when you look at the opening theme songs for Pokemon from seasons 1 through 5, the opening logos are all CG, in which 4Kids would do similar logos with Yu-Gi-Oh!, Sonic X, and Dinosaur King. It kind of makes sense that they want to do it in a different style to hype you up for Pokemon. For a non-Pokemon example, the Lion King Wildebeest Stampede scene. Most of that scene, while it was hand-drawn, that scene had CG elements, like the wildebeest in particular. The wildebeests were indeed computer-generated, but they were cel-shaded so that people wouldn't suspect that they were animated by computer. That's the reason why they did it. It's basically for art reasons. That's kind of obvious why they do it. It makes sense for certain movies, especially during the ballroom sequence of Beauty and the Beast, where they use CG to create the illusion that the camera was panning around the ballroom during Mrs. Potts' song. Here comes the next reason. The reason the Unknown, for example, is CG in Spell the Unknown, the reason I see the asteroid in Destiny Deoxys is CG, and the forest at the very beginning of Pokemon Forever is CG, not because they were lazy, but it's actually because of perspective. That's why they use it for things like the doors closing in Mewtwo Strikes Back. That's why they use it for the Unknown to be animated. Because it's a lot easier to make the CG model of the shape of that and then move it within an environment as opposed to using a bunch of drawings. That is the reason why they use these things for perspective shots. It's a lot easier to create a model of something in a 3D environment, put a texture over it, and then just move it however you want it, like you would in a computer-generated software. But I also have to agree with a few people that the reason the Pokemon movies do use CG at times is mostly because they had higher budget reasons. I mean, Pokemon Forever is one of those prominent examples, especially with the Twig Monster and some of Celebi's psychic powers, and even some shots of Suicune. The movie is still fantastic in my opinion, and Tara Sands does a great job voicing Sammy, and Dan Green sounded like he was having a field day playing over the top villain. Man, this was a pretty short Cartoon Theory. So yeah, I hope this explains something if you didn't know this. But if you did, hey, that's fine. I have pointed out some good examples of Pokemon using CG for you. With that said, tune in again in May for another Cartoon Theory. Bye for now.